Hey, I'm Brandon.
And I'm Dimari.
And we're Side by Side. Just a quick note before the show begins, we created this platform for people to share their stories and perspectives on a wide range of topics. We just want to let you know that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of our own. So without further ado, enjoy the show. Enjoy Side by Side. Show, everybody. Another episode of Side by Side.
Yep.
As always, here to create create unity through diversity. I just combined the words.
I like it. Create
unity through diversity by exploring all different types of topics with different guests every week. We try to have thoughtful conversations with some engaging questions to change minds. If not, maybe not change minds. But we're here to bring people together and share different perspectives and stories throughout people's journeys in life. And I got my co-host. He is my side by side. The other side to my side.
Yep.
Dimari Swanagain, how you feeling today?
I'm pretty good, bro.
Cheers.
How are you, man?
Cheers. Actually, let's get this proper. I'm going to crack my beer this time.
Right. Last week you didn't. You didn't. I drank.
Last week you drank. Yeah. This week I'm drinking.
Yeah.
Woo!
So what are you excited about?
Well, sports, as you know, big passion of mine. Mm-hmm. Big news with Tiger Woods hitting the Masters this weekend. Yeah. Started yesterday.
Yeah.
First round of golf in 500 days, competitive round of golf, at the hardest tournament in golf.
Yeah.
After breaking his legs in a car crash, and he shot 1 under and was 2 strokes off the lead.
Crazy.
The guy is insane.
Yeah.
I don't know what he finished yet right now. I'm going to have to check when we get off. But the other thing I'm excited about is this UFC card tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Banger.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
Banging.
Yeah. No, it looks crazy. 2
title fights, and then we got the ladies fight is going to be awesome, and then there's another fight with Hamzat, who's like the up-and-comer dude in the welterweight in Kamaru's division.
Yeah.
It's going to be ridiculous. What are you excited about?
I think I'm going to go watch that fight tomorrow. I'm like quasi excited. Because, like you hyped me up about this stuff. I don't care about this stuff. And you hyped me up. And so then Mo, who we met, he was just like, yo, we all going to watch the fight. And I was like, oh, that's the fight that Rizzo was talking about.
You should invite him when we do the May 7th card.
Okay.
Because I'm going to have some people over.
Yeah, no. So it's like he invited like 15, 20 people, and we're supposed to go like watch the fight like at the domain or something.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to go, but I think Ivan said he'll come, so maybe we'll go. So
sick.
Kind of pumped about that.
Sick.
But I'm not drinking right now, so it's not that exciting.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah,
why are you not drinking? You want
to? Just I'm practicing Ramadan. I'm not Muslim, but I think it's cool to do it. Yeah. So I haven't had food either. I'm pretty hungry.
Yeah.
But we'll be okay.
Nice.
But let's bring these guests on, man.
Let's do it.
So I'm super pumped today, dude. We have Christopher Bennett sitting side by side with Marty Murray Jr., man. How you guys feeling today?
Good to go.
Welcome to the show, fellas.
Welcome to the show. So, welcome to Side by Side, man. We always like to, start it off on a positive note. So, I guess we'll start with you, Chris, man. What are you excited about?
Big news, a lot of big money news. I'm currently just up to my eyeballs watching the Chinese bond market totally implode on itself. Obviously, there's a lot of cross action between Ukraine and Russia, China, all that action going on. So that's kind of what's in my world, and how that is all going to affect our own Federal Reserve and the dollar and the future of where I might be investing or where I might be putting money in the future.
So that sounds like a lot of doom and gloom to me. How is that good news?
Well, opportunity comes from chaos, and whenever there's turmoil in the markets and movement, you can get a little piece of that and make the middle and make the best of that opportunity.
Sure, man. So,
Chris, do you smell that?
I smell it too.
Do you smell that? What is that?
It smells like shmoney.
Oh. It's money. I love in The Big Short when he's like, you smell that? He's like, opportunity. No, it's money.
So I mean, what's your sentiment towards that, Marty?
What's that as far as like the money that's to be made out here?
Yeah, well, what Chris just said.
Oh, this money. Yeah, I mean, I'm with it, man. I'm with it. But it's funny when you talk about, like y'all the finance guys. You feel me? I call you all when I need advice.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna stay in my lane and I'm gonna make my coins over in this bucket. But I can always appreciate, the amount of knowledge that you all bring when it comes.
That's awesome. Yeah, man. So Marty, what are you excited about, man?
I mean, y'all over here talking about UFC, man. Look, my little brother, he like, wrestler all through high school, college, so he's talking about UFC. I'm like, look, man, we had these boxing matches, the sweet science. I'm watching boxing every chance I get. So I'm excited to see Ryan Garcia and what he gonna do, because the lightweight division in boxing is major.
And it's his first fight in like 15 months, right?
I mean, it seems like it's been longer than that. I know he's been tweeting. So we'll see what he's going to do when he step in that ring.
Yeah.
But he's been helping like the Logan kid or whatever, right?
Yeah, but I think he had some sort of injury or something that kept him out of a title fight last year, and he's just had a really long layoff.
I mean, and I'm a fan of him, don't get me wrong. But I just, when it comes to boxing or fighting, you got to fight. He talked the talk, which is cool, right? You want to be a star, but, you got to back it up in the ring. You know what I'm saying? So he just talks a little bit more than he throws his hand. So hopefully he just shows out tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think Triple G's fighting this weekend too, right?
Yeah, my buddy wanted me to come down. He just need to hang him up, I was a big fan of Triple G, but it's just about that time right now, you know what I'm saying? But outside of that, you got the Moto GP races in America this weekend. So definitely excited about that.
Nice.
Man. And people don't know Marty throws hands, bro. He boxes. He was just trying to hate on UFC because he can, I guess, because he throws hands, bro.
I don't want no smoke.
I love all combat.
Nobody training. I ain't trying to get no headlocks. Look, tap out. You feel me? We can stand up to him, but if you get to kicking and stuff, I ain't ready.
Yeah, I took a jiu-jitsu class for the first time last year, and I was so out of shape, and I walked in there and I was like, I almost passed out at the end of the class and was so sore, and I had never felt so discouraged in my entire life after taking a class of something. Yeah. And I'm definitely going to do it again, but I got to get in better shape.
He's been saying that for a year now.
Now you got to get back, jump right back in, bro.
That's what I told him.
Yeah. You got to come back the next day.
Yeah. I just need to I need a few pointers or watch some YouTube videos so that when I go in there I'm not completely just dumbfounded at what I'm doing, because I was trying to pick up on the sequence that they teach in the beginning of the class, and I was just okay, whoever the luckily they kept partnering with me real experienced dudes who were okay, I'll pause, I'll help you out, whatever. But I was just when we got to the 7 minutes of rolling at the end of the class, I was dead, dude.
Yeah. No,
you got to jump in on the junior class. You got to jump in on the little kids class. So confidence up.
Yo, them little kids will 10 years old too, bro.
Yeah. Coming at you, Rizzo. These kids different nowadays, man.
They are.
You know what's hilarious though? Because I didn't have a belt because it was my very first class ever, and so I asked them if they had any belts. And the guy was like, I think we got one in the back. He goes back, he gets this orange belt, and he brings it out. And apparently it's the belt they give to people who were kids that hit a certain level, but then came to an adult class several years later.
Yeah.
And so I'm in there with this orange belt, and people are thinking, I'm oh, this dude's got some skills.
Right.
And I'm nope, I'm getting trashed.
No, it's a lot of fun, man. So yeah, let's just kick it off. We, like to know about your upbringing, just to kind of parallel it and let people understand who you are. So, Chris, tell us about your upbringing. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you move around? What was your family structure life, and how did you get to where you are today?
Sure. So I grew up in Libertyville, Illinois, just north of Chicago, suburb kind of set up, single family, and had to kind of grind out on my own early on. So I was doing a lot of landscaping as a kid, push mowing lawns and raking leaves and whatever was required to get the things that I needed, snowboards and skateboards and go-karts and all that. I had to go get it on my own. So I got a real good work ethic from my mom. She always had me paired up with some, if someone was in there doing work on the house, I was in there learning how to throw drywall down and paint and whatever was necessary. So that really shaped how I looked at making money in the future. And it's actually doing pretty good now that I look back on it. I was doing like lawns for $30 every 30 minutes. I had my block like locked down, so I was doing pretty good as like a little 8-year-old kid. And it was an experience that I wouldn't swap out for anything else, because a lot of my friends actually were doing really well. Multi-family, very successful kind of neighborhood, and everybody else was getting their stuff just kind of handed to them and not figuring out how money really worked. And that actually turned around and became a real benefit for me later on. So that was a huge thing.
Yeah, so that was, young Chris, and then, did you spent your entire school years in Libertyville?
Actually, no. This was part of the beginning stages of my world traveling. After my freshman year in high school, my mom remarried, and we went to North Carolina. I was in school in Burlington, North Carolina for a year. And then the schools down there weren't so hot, so I got a little trouble there, and ended up going to a private school in Virginia for a year, and then graduated high school out of Annapolis, Maryland, and then off to Colorado for college in Boulder.
Wow. Okay.
So I was like the new kid every year in high school, which meant, a lot of character development, a lot of scrambling around to make friends real quick, being able to kind of slide in and out of a lot of different cliques, and learning a lot about, well, first of all, moving to North Carolina, that was a total shocker. I was apparently a Yankee down in the South. I didn't even realize that. That wasn't anything that was in my brain until it was presented to me like that. And
this was when you were a kid?
Yeah,
Freshman.
This is sophomore year in high school. So This was a real shock for me, because I was cool with everybody in Libertyville. We had a pretty diverse class, and there wasn't any weird stigmas about that stuff. But down in North Carolina, it really changed. And then Virginia as well. That was more of a boarding school setup, so everybody was in suit and ties, so it was kind of, they kept it classy.
Yeah. So you were away from your mother at that time in boarding school?
Yeah. I lived on campus there. And then as soon as I got out of Annapolis, I was right off to Boulder, and just started everything up there.
Yeah. What did you study?
Crazy. A lot of not school.
And so, what are you doing now? Like,
so I finished up a few years of kind of traveling around. I had done a pretty lengthy tour of being a real estate investor in the New York area, and spent 15 years building up a pretty solid portfolio of rental apartments, student rental, retirement home rental, everything, the whole gambit. Had commercial, mixed use. Got a real solid education on how to deal with people, and I had my time. I enjoyed it. It wasn't. It presented itself at the end as something that, I found some struggles there at the end, where I was getting a little burned out by just getting jaded by people in general. Arguing with people over money is never a fun thing, especially when they're, you're just trying to provide them a good place to live, and they just trash your place over and over. That kind of got annoying. But I found that, it was a great way to learn how to do multiple different skills. I had maybe 20 different hats I was wearing at the time. I had multiple different businesses within my business portfolio of rentals. I was running, coin laundry machines and candy machines and little side deals here and there, and was looking at different asset opportunities along the way. There was marinas for sale, and there was golf courses for sale, stuff that we were looking at that just got you sharpened up on how to approach how to make passive income, and the positives and negatives of walking through all these deals really sharpened me up and kind of honed how I look at how I want to make money in the future. After I wrapped up everything in the New York area, I actually got pretty excited about taking a try out in Colorado with the legalized marijuana dispensary kind of setup, and played around with that for a year or two. Kind of saw the pitfalls of what was going on with some of the big dog guys, saw some of the pitfalls with the smaller scale guys. Ultimately chose not to pursue that operation, and I actually just took off and went traveling for a couple years, and then ended up getting picked up for like a money management job in Zacks Investments in Chicago, Illinois. And so I went back to Chicago, jumped up in one of those skyscrapers for a year, and helped people figure out how to make money, and brought in a bunch of money for the firm, and really enjoyed that right up until COVID hit. And then I decided I was not getting locked down in the city, and I skedaddled out of there back to Colorado, kind of hung out in the mountains for a little bit, and just been bouncing around since then, which has been nice. I've been actually down here in Florida right now. I'm really looking hard in Fort Lauderdale right now at small boutique hotels. I think that's a real nice passive income operation, and it's a good way to pay for one of those gaudy-ass big mansions that you don't want to have to pay the taxes on every year, so you got to look at something passive to pay for that.
That's very fascinating, man. Thanks for bringing us up to date. Definitely want to delve into that a little bit, but want to give Marty an opportunity to just kind of introduce himself. So, Marty, tell us, man, what was your upbringing like? Where are you from? What was your house structure, and what got you to where you are today?
What we gonna do, first of all, we're going to pause on that. We're going to give my man Chris a round of applause, because I don't know, he just give me like Marty Bryde type vibes, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's so like
give it to him. Marty Bryde.
You know what I'm saying? But like, I can respect it, because you could tell like he's like a walking ticket. Like, it don't matter how he make the money. I like that. I like that about him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Any and all type.
So
of
it's
ways
funny
to
you
make
say
money.
that. It's funny you say that. That was literally my initial reaction the moment I met him.
And that's exactly how you described him to me when we were talking about having him on the podcast. That's so funny.
I said, he's like Marty Bryde, bro, because that's who he is. And I met him, and I was like, this dude's... You know Marty Bryde, Chris?
No.
Oh, it's from... what's the name of that show?
Ozarks.
Ozarks, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, you got to watch it.
Have you ever seen Ozarks?
You got to watch it now, bro.
It's literally a TV show about you.
Yeah.
Is this the one where the guy is kind of hustling money for the mob a little bit?
He's money laundering for the Mexican cartel. Yeah. So you haven't. He got put in a jam. So I mean, it totally would happen to you, and you'd be able to like figure it out. We're rooting on you, Marty. No, it's funny because you guys both are named. He's Marty and you're Marty, but
that's a major compliment. So don't take it as like anything other than that.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Like, it's all about flexibility.
But as far as upbringing, who am I? Marty Joe Murray. I am born and raised in Chicago. Lived in the south suburbs. That's when I met Dimari. But right now, currently, I'm in St. Louis, Missouri. So, and contrary to popular belief, this is not flyover country. So I know we got some East Coast cats on the line right now. Like, nah, it's not flyover country. It's a lot of opportunity here in the Midwest. But as far as like my upbringing, I was adopted by my aunt and my uncle when I was like younger. So, I spent a little bit of time as like a foster child, got adopted by like the family. They really wanted to keep it, keep me and my siblings all together. So, as far as like an upbringing, it was all one that was rooted in family, connectedness. I would say it would be more like a lower middle class type upbringing, but one that was like one where education was important, structure was important. And I just kind of carried those type of principles all throughout my life. So, being a first generation college student, trying to find my way through that whole scene, and in my school, like I went to Thornwood High School and I ended up transferring, but like our school, I think they didn't pass a referendum and like school got out at like 1:00. So education was like not a thing in high school, So I got to college, I'm like, what is this? Like, y'all learn this in high school? Like, so I had to figure my way through all that, a route to getting my bachelor's in business management. Went on, just kind of stayed in that lane and business, in the business world. I held like small businesses all throughout. I started off when I was like, 7th, 8th grade doing candy businesses. Thornwood was like a whole entrepreneurial hotspot. You had people here burning CDs, selling CDs, DVDs, tapes. Yeah, folks over here selling candy and chips and bags. So when I left, Thornwood, I ended up moving my sophomore year to Central Illinois. So I hit them like a storm. They like, who is this guy? Why he got all these businesses? What are you talking about? A clothing line? Like, why is he painting shoes and shirts? And I was like one of like industry. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody at Thornwood was doing that. So it was kind of like a different flavor coming to Central Illinois. But it kind of gave me a little bit of an edge in terms of like meeting new people, getting new social circles. And I just kind of took that route and kept going, man. And ended up in St. Louis. Crash landed on the arch, the riverfront. And I ain't left, man. I've been here, That's pretty much my route. And professionally, I am a project manager / consultant. I kind of work in, I previously, past decade, I've been in the healthcare / technology industry, just managing and delivering multi-million-dollar projects for Fortune 15 companies. So that's what I do when I'm like, that's my spare time. The fun stuff is like, and I know Dimari gonna get into it, but I ain't bringing it up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's why I definitely had to bring you guys together. So, where'd you study and what did you said business management, but then you got an MBA or something too, right?
Yeah. So I ended up going back for my MBA in 15 through Mizzou. Y'all see him. I had to represent the Tigers. MIZ. But ended up taking that route because it was more of a pivot. Because what I like to do in my professional life, I like to look ahead, like in the next decade, right? Like what skills can I acquire now that'll make me marketable to, Fortune companies and just have like the skill set to make money, right? So, when I got my bachelor's, it was like just general management degree. That's really just whatever you learn and you can apply. But with the MBA, it's more like framing your mind in a way that allows you to be a boss or be an owner, right? The whole point of business school is that you come out and you come be a director, vice president, executive, whether that's for your own company or for some larger company. So really was just gaining those skills to just think such a large scale. And I think that really just helped me, So it was just a, executive MBA with the in Columbia. I wouldn't trade the lessons I learned there for nothing.
I have a question for you because I've thought about going back to get an MBA, and I have this I kind of have this thought about like what's happening to the business world because everybody's kind of being forced into going after an MBA and like coming out in order to make a certain amount and get to a certain level, and I feel like there's sort of like a tunnel vision thought behind running business and operating business, and people are kind of all coming with this same sort of mindset, and there's so many people coming out with that same mindset and that same kind of like fall into the cog into the wheel kind of. And is it similar for you that you feel like you have to differentiate yourself from those people, or like do you feel like you had to adopt that?
Now I would challenge you to just reshape the way you think about it, right? First and foremost, I think one of the biggest benefits, I would say maybe 40-50% of why you go to business school is the relationships you build with your cohort. So when you're looking at business schools, think about like talk to the admissions to say what industries are your students coming from. Like, because if you got like a particular industry that you're trying to get into business wise, you might want to go to a school that like recruits from those type of industries, to be able to get those relationships and those contacts. Because I think, obviously I was like the youngest in my cohort because it was an executive program. But like the relationships that I have, being able to text any of those, like everybody is a boss coming in. You know what I'm saying? So like having folks all over the country and all over the world that's a part of the program, being able to tap into that expertise was key. And to your point about being a cog in the wheel in business school, kind of churning out these robots, it's not even like, don't look at it that way. I mean, look at it as the B school is just give you a foundation, you know, of strategy, governance. I don't even know. I mean, just finance, marketing. Like it just gives you like a tool belt. Like you walk out of B school with a tool belt. Some people know how to apply and use that tool belt. Some people just go off of like the business cards that they got in their pocket from B school. And some people take that tool belt and go build something amazing. So like that's the whole, you know, approach of it. I wouldn't look at it like, cause I would argue that that's like that for any program or any school, like where, you know, it's like indoctrination, right? Like I know Dimari's like the Kanye West free thinker, you know, reject society, you know, but you know,
which is why I was gonna say, because if you take that and you juxtapose it with someone like Chris, who probably went to the school of hard knocks and learned a lot, and probably you know has debt in a different way. Like, what do you say to the MBA program, Chris?
My response would be: do you want to be an employee or do you want to be an owner? I mean, it's really your goal is really more important. Like, if you want to be comfortable, you want some sort of, you want to make someone else rich. Yeah, you go be an employee. Do you want to work on something that you're interested in, and do you want to take it as far as you can take it? Then go be an owner.
So do you think it's worth getting an MBA? Let's say, you know, funny thing, just as
it depends on the goal.
I always think it's so comical when people like go to school to learn like, and they study like entrepreneurship or something. I'm like, this literally makes no sense. And then they're learning it from like an employee. I'm like, this literally makes zero sense to me. But so
it really depends on the goal. Like what you'd have to look down the road to what you want. Like I like to look at the end and work it all the way back. So when I mentioned right now, I'm looking at small boutique hotels. Well, that doesn't matter. That's only to pay for some gaudy $68 million mansion that costs $200,000 in taxes a year. I need to get the nut to pay for the taxes. Well, how do you do that passively? Well, you need something that's going to net $1 million a year passively with some third party operating it. It's not so I can go run a hotel and fucking flip bed sheets every day. So you need to look at what your goal is. Do you want a yacht and you want the money to go loop around the planet? Do you want a private jet? Do you want to just sit around and sip? I mean, I don't know what your goal is.
Like,
I hope people.
I'm gonna just like shit on your whole like life real quick. You know what I'm saying?
No.
You get money on this side, so Rizzo, you make your decision.
Well, it's funny because
I'm very good at helping people find their goal. So I have a friend who's got their MBA. He's a regional vice president for the entire Midwest. Guy makes bank. But he's got a boss.
Yeah.
He's got a schedule.
Yeah.
You think he can go fuck off to Italy for a month and then go down to Fort Lauderdale and go look at yachts all day? No. He's got to go meet with clients and like he's got to be their therapist. Like, don't sell. The market's going to come back, blah, blah, blah. It depends on what your goal is. So if your goal is to have a stable life and not take risks, I mean, that's another factor. Like, how risk avoidant are you? I'm full risk. I go all out. I bet on myself every day. That's an entrepreneur. I take the knowledge that I can absorb, I filter it the way I can, and then I bet on myself to get that angle.
And so, Chris, do you feel like there was something that happened to you maybe at a young age that made you so kind of risk avoidant, or that natural kind of thing in the brain that's like, oh, okay, don't go further. You kind of just blow past it. And so, like, do you feel like there was something that happened to kind of create that motivation inside of you?
Yeah, I grew up around a bunch of rich people that had everything handed to them, and nobody was there to bankroll my dreams, and so I had to like gut it out and figure it out on my own. And it's just how you get ahead. No one's gonna do this for you. Like, you can go to all these little seminars and you can go to school and you can get a degree and go get yourself in debt, but now you got to service that debt. So what are you going to do? You got to go get a job.
Yeah.
Either way, you got to get a nut together to put money together.
Yeah.
Even if you have a great idea as an entrepreneur, you still got to go get a nut somewhere to put money down.
Okay.
Or you got to find a hard money lender that's going to back you, and you got to make good relationships. Now, I would totally agree about going to college if you knew how to parlay the relationship network part. That's one thing I learned in boarding school when I was with all these like super rich kids some of them were from like Dubai, some of them were princes, some of them, their parents owned like whole strings of hotels and restaurants. And I mean, I was flying to private school in a private jet owned by some guy's dad. And I was like, okay, how do I do this? You know, like, you're not going to learn this in school because they're just going to teach you to be an employee. And an employee is someone who's totally replaceable. And it's like, I don't know. I make my own luck. I carve it out on my own. And there's nobody that's going to just give you $10 million. You know, like even if you got a great job, what are you going to make $500,000 tops? Right. Like, what is that? That's garbage pay.
That's high end and hard to get in itself. That $500,000. So walk us through.
But that's nothing.
Oh, in the grand scheme of things,
how to make a net worth $1 million easy passive. I just told you with the small boutique hotels, right? Mm-hmm. It's $200 a night here in Fort Lauderdale.
How many rooms
do you need times 200 a night? The hotel costs $1.3 million. So you float that. It's math. It's easy. Right. It's nothing, you know.
So how do you find the money then, Chris?
Well, if you don't have a nut together first, I'd say go get some job that'll allow you to have time to be in your brain to work this out while you do it. You can go be a waiter, a bartender. You can make $20-$30 an hour doing that, just easy. When I was putting together all the real estate in New York, I was a waiter for a whole long time. But it allowed me to work a shift or give away shifts in order to go deal with real estate that I was accumulating.
Yeah.
You know, and I needed that job to get the first mortgage because the bank was like, bro, we don't care if it makes money. Like, you need to have some sort of income, which was the worst thing. It was banks. Screw banks. They're like, they slow an entrepreneur up.
Why screw banks? Let's slow down for all the listeners out there. Why screw banks, man? What's up? What's wrong with banks?
Because they're not creative. If this was the 50s, you'd have a relationship with your banker and they'd understand what was going on and you could talk to them. But now it's check a box. What do you make? You're mortgaging your income. You're not mortgaging like the asset, really. I mean, they throw in what it makes to a portion, but they want to know that you have some sort of stable job. You're going to grind your life off to pay back the bill. They don't understand that passive income outweighs what you could ever make as an employee. In fact, I even ran into a situation where my debt-to-income ratio was too off skew to get more mortgages. And I was so pissed because they were just slowing me down the whole time. And I had to go jump in and get hard money loans. And I pretty much doubled my entire portfolio off one hard money loan. I could never have gone for like a $600,000-$700,000 loan, but this guy who knew what his building earned, saw the potential in me. I built a relationship with him, and we made it happen. And I flipped that building over, doubled my entire portfolio, and I was making twice as much as the restaurant I was working at that point. And I was making more than the fucking banker. Fuck the banker.
Yo, so I know Marty is he's really into real estate. He and we talk pretty much every day. And I know that's something he's very interested in. So, like, you know, what are you doing? What are you doing right now, Marty, as far as real estate goes?
Yeah. So, even before I jump into that, like, I want to make a counterpoint to Chris, just from Rizzo and just people that are like battling that dynamic, right? When you talk about the school route or the, you know, entrepreneurial, like, you know, rising star type route, like, I feel like in life, right? Like, I think it's more fundamental. Is like you were saying, like, what do you want out of life? You know what I'm saying? Because one route, like, because I'm like he said, he's full risk. I'm like data informed risk. You know what I'm saying? Like my buddies talk stuff about me, like, bro, you need to just go do it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, let me put together a predictive model before I make a move. You know what I'm saying? So I can appreciate Chris, but I look at it in a sense of like probability, right? Like, how many people that are like Chris, that are talking like Chris, if you're a bank, you can't operate, you can't function that way if you want to land on people that are just like, you know, let's, you know, it makes sense, let's just do this. You know, they have to look at it in a from a population standpoint, what are the odds of me making my money back? So, I don't necessarily knock it. But what I do take away from what Chris was saying is that if you take that route, but you have higher ambitions, find something to fill your time while you're doing it. And that's kind of the route that I'm taking with it. So when you talk about real estate, I'm looking at it in the sense of like I work professionally, I consult in technology for these large companies. And I've learned how to manage multi-billion-dollar projects with the aims of me being able to do that for myself. So, I'm learning and I'm trying to develop technologies, develop patents on the technologies that I have now and inventions that I want to create to be able to run my own corporation one day. Because I've done it for these large Fortune companies, but I'll be able to do it for myself once I get to that point,
What point is that?
What is
right,
that
me and
point?
Chris have the same question.
Yeah, so like for me, right now where I am, I'm making money with my earned income as far as like from professionally. I'm also a professor at the HBCU here in St. Louis. And I teach project.
What's it called?
What's that?
What's the school called?
Harrisville State University.
Okay.
So I teach project management there. So, to Chris's point, like what is that point? When do you want to jump off? Money isn't always like the ultimate end for everybody. Because for me, when I'm just looking at statistics, where I came up and what I came around, I'm winning, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, at a certain point in my career, like, once I hit 60, 70K, like, it was like making more money past that really didn't, like, affect me more. Like, I mean, yeah, it'd be cool to fly around and go to Italy, do all this other stuff. But I look at it in the sense of, like, are you happy? You know what I'm saying? Like, do I feel fulfilled? Like, am I having an impact on people? I look at it in the sense of, I want to leave this earth where it's, like, I affected so many people that my legacy pervades versus me having accumulated a large amount of wealth. You know what I'm saying? So, I just kind of look at it from that perspective. And while I'm doing that, I'm finding ways to become financially independent. And when it comes to the real estate, like I haven't really went outside my market or anything like that. I'm focused here in St. Louis. I just got off the phone before this podcast. I'm trying to get a 4-family here in St. Louis in one of like the burgeoning neighborhoods. And we're trying to just work through what the numbers look like for that deal. So I went over, with the DC and the realtor to check out the building to try to submit an offer to them by the end of this month. So just trying to figure out, different ways. Like when Chris got to rolling on all his streams, I'm like, let me pick up some of them streams because right now I'm like, earned income, real estate, royalties from books and stuff like that. But let me find, anytime I hear anybody talking about different avenues, like, I'm all ears always.
Yeah, but look, Marty, so the thing is, you still never answered the question, though. You said, you want to do these things once you get to a certain point. And the question is, what is that point?
Yeah, so look at it like this, right? As an example.
Is it a financial point? Is it what is it?
So that point, what does it look like? So I have like a list of things that I'm working through, like algorithms that I'm building myself, predictive models. I have like a couple predictive models that I'm using or I'm working on myself. And one in particular, because I was thinking like from an academia standpoint, I'm in project management. I've been here for the past decade, working for these large companies who develop methodologies. Every company has their way of doing things. And having being certified in project management, it's like I could really take what I know of what works, my experience, and what I've learned from a theoretical standpoint and develop my own methodology that will be like, I don't know what you call it whatever you want to. But it'll be an approach of how every company does project management across the world. You know what I'm saying? So, like, how do you monetize something? First, you got to build it, prove that it works, get it attributed to yourself, and then try to find ways to monetize it, So, for me, it's like I have, like, a lot of different angles that I'm working from that end. Like, if we look at it in terms of the 7 streams of income, like, that will fall in the royalties type bucket that I'm just learning from a scientific standpoint because in moonlighting I'm working on becoming a data scientist and a business analyst. So from my end, like I look at it as I'll get to that point, and if I don't, that's cool too. I just saw rest in peace Michael Neidorff. He was the CEO of Centene Corporation, net worth $500 million, you know what I'm saying, like pioneer in the industry. and he passed away. And it just made me think like, damn, you know, at any point in time, anything can happen. And it's like, what's the point of all that money? Like, I'm like, damn, bro, didn't even get to spend it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you pass it down to generations and stuff like that, but it's like you don't get to enjoy it. So, like, if you're not enjoying life, it just made me question, like, what's the point? You know what I'm saying? Like,
so with that in mind, Marty, do you enjoy, like, your 9 to 5? Do you find fulfillment in it?
And that's what's crazy about it, right? So people, you know, they look at it like, I don't want to be an employee, you know. But, like, for me, I like what I do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really enjoy it. I enjoy the challenge. It'd be dope to get paid. You feel me? Like, you know, pay me more. So I get it from that angle. But I think, like, when it comes to impacting lives, like, it's second to none. So, like, for me, you know, like, when I was working at Centene, one of my biggest projects that I worked on was a readmission reduction program. Whereas, like, one of the highest, the highest costs in hospitals is people readmitting back into the ER, people using the ER as a way to maintain a chronic condition. And I'm literally working with predictive data models, building them to deter people or distract them from going into the ICU. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, like, to say that I helped 100,000, 200,000 people be diverted and have a better quality of life, like, that's that's major to me. You know, I like, you know me, because I'm in the political space, so I like people. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because money was never there growing up. You feel me? Like, not even seeing it around me. So, you know, for me, it's like I found ways that, like, you can be happy outside of that.
So I want to get into the politics, but before we do that, I want to just cut back to Chris for a second. So, you know, obviously,
let me recap for that real quick.
Okay.
I think it's really important to enjoy what you're doing. I think it's really important to self-evaluate a lot. You know, you've got to really be comfortable in your element, and, you know, maybe, obviously, you don't want to make your main hobby your career, because you want to have something you're having fun with. And if you can be involved in large-scale data operations and statistical analysis, and you're helping a lot of people, I totally believe if you're out there helping more people, the universe will help you back big time.
Yeah.
And the result is, look at what you're doing. You're working with Fortune 500 companies. You're working with big dogs, doing big projects. And that just may be your lane that you want to stay in because you're good with it. I mean, trust me, solo operation entrepreneur, you're hanging your dick out there by yourself. It's you and your hands, and you. If you mess it up, that's your nut. That's gone.
Yeah.
And now you're back at the restaurant grinding it out, trying to figure it out again. But I would suggest that if you, you know, don't think, if you're going to overthink it, don't do it, because the more times you go out there and mess it up, the quicker you're going to find success. So you want to fail more. So just get out there and do it ugly, do it gross, just get it done. My first house, oh my God. I would never buy my first house again, but it solved my original problem, which was eliminating rent. I just didn't want to pay rent. I was in flight school in the New York area. I was becoming a pilot, and I thought paying rent was stupid. And I got a house that was multifamily, and it just cleared my rent. I could go back to being a pilot. And then I just started doing the math, like, in my brain. I was like, oh my God, this is too easy. Why wouldn't I just keep buying houses? And I'm a fan of architecture and remodeling. I love making places look beautiful. I mean, that's just something I love to do. You know, it helps other people, it helps the neighborhood, but it's in my wheelhouse. I love that stuff. I'm down here sort of cruising all these mansions. It's not because I need to have a lot of money. It's because I genuinely love the real estate. I love looking at these houses that are no budget, all in, maxed out, landscaping, stonework. I go crazy over that stuff, and the money doesn't matter. I just have to figure out how to pay for it because it's stupid expensive.
Yeah.
And so I got to get creative, right? Like, I'd rather just own it and not have to do anything, but you got to kind of backtrack and go, okay, I'm not going to buy the big expensive yacht or the big house or the fancy Lambo first. I got to find the thing that pays for all that, and then I can go get those liabilities that aren't going to actually make me any money.
Because I have assets to pay for them. So a couple of things that you said, pretty interesting. Definitely didn't know you were in flight school. Like, what happened with that?
Yeah,
what's going on with that?
I became a pilot actually, and then was completely. Flight school was awesome. Learning how to do all that was amazing. It was the worst decision ever as a career decision because initially I thought, oh, making a couple $100,000 a year, that'll be great. That's something. And it was the most boring thing you could ever do because you're a glorified bus driver. Not to hate on bus drivers, but if you don't like sitting on a plane for 2.5 hours straight and staring, like, I hate that. Well, that's your career as a pilot. Guess what? You don't fly that plane. You have a stupid computer that takes you where you got to go. So you're just sitting there like everyone else, uncomfortable. You got to go to the airport. That whole process sucks.
Yeah.
And let's be honest. I mean, say what you want, but to me, $250,000 a year max, or $400,000, even $400,000, it's not going to cut it. Not for what I want.
So you rather be uncapped. It's funny. I have like my big brother, my mentor. We talk about this all the time, right? Where let's use your number, 250 or something. I'd rather have $100,000 on my own as an entrepreneur than 250 as an employee, because the cost of being my own boss is just way more important to me. Like to have my own
the time
freedom.
Involved.
What's that?
You got to think about the time involved when you're talking about getting a career job like that. Sure, there's nothing wrong with putting that together and maybe even doing 4 or 5 years of that, and you've got yourself a giant nut to work with.
Yeah.
But most people jump down that road. They're so invested with school. They're so invested with their network. They get comfortable at the place.
Right.
10 years goes by. It gets a little scary to walk away.
Yeah.
People get dependent on that money because guess what everyone does? They maximize every single dollar that they make. Just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean you have a lot of money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You use all that money all the way to the edge.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, I'm like, the best gauge of wealth is how many years can you float without having income.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I know people that make $500,000 plus a year probably couldn't make it 6 months.
Yeah, I know some of those too.
Without that $50K a month coming in to spend on everything that they have going on. I mean,
so would you agree with that? Would you rather have $100,000 coming in for yourself than 250 from a boss?
Are you talking about me?
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know what I would. Again, it comes down to the goal, right?
Yeah, we're talking about you, man. You.
I would be, yeah. Because, well, $100,000 is so small. I mean, that's such a terrible number.
I know. So
Scale it up, bro. $1 million?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
So would you rather have $100,000 coming as your own boss, or 250 as an employee?
If I was able to generate $100,000 with some small little entrepreneur gig, I would absolutely take that, because the next year I could flip that into $1 million and make that passive. Just like that.
How would you do that, man? So that's the next thing I wanted to ask before we shift gears here is, all right, so I'm watching this. I'm 21, 22 years old, whatever, and I got $5,000 saved. What should I do with it? My goal is to become wealthy and have my passive income exceed my expenses.
Okay, so you're giving me a static situation. Okay. Given, like, if we're back in 1993 and we had a good 20 years ahead of us where we knew that the economy was going to be legit. We can't talk about this idea right now because the parameters are so much different. But if you had $5,000 and it was 1993, I would tell you to buy a couple of ATM machines and go find a place to put them in. And now
but
your
hold
ATM
on, Chris. But Chris,
money.
It ain't 1993, my man.
He gonna make you pick.
It's 2020. It's basically 2023. So we're talking about right now, today. I'm listening to this today. So we're gonna have to go down a totally different tangent. Let's go
right now. Okay,
let's do it.
Forget the dollar. It's over. The Federal Reserve is toast. Your banks are totally upside down. The world is totally changing. The hegemony. Don't bother going to college. Fucking learn how to grow food.
So I take the $5,000 and I convert it into what? Ethereum or something? What are you saying?
Yeah, but only until mid-May. I would flip it right now, get 10, 15K out of it. Geez. Move back in with your parents, man. I don't know.
Chris said,
no, this is real, dude.
No, I love it. I love how serious he is right now. Yeah, I love how serious he is right now.
He's saying some real stuff. I hope everybody's checking in.
I'm serious.
I'm with you, Chris.
Let's hear him out. So what are we doing?
Learn how to grow food for sure. I'm 100%.
So first of all, people need to understand what money is, who makes money, how it works. If you want to make money, you have to learn what it is, what kind of commodity you're working with, because that's what cash is. It's a commodity. It's a commodity that buys every other commodity. Okay, so what is money, and why do we use this goofy shit? And let's look at the inflation right now. Let's look at the way that they just dole out trillions of dollars. Do you know 80% of the dollars just were created in the last year?
I do.
80%.
I do know this.
Okay, so
but look, Chris, I got the $5,000. I'm 23, man. What am I doing with this $5,000? I need your help.
I don't know, flip packs or something.
Gucci.
Yeah, better go find a fraternity to sell ecstasy to
we don't
or
second
something.
that here at
Chris, would you tell that 23-year-old to go spend that $5,000 on a good night and then figure it out the next day?
I think if you're smart enough with $5,000, you could probably flip some good cash right now, short term, in crypto. We're looking at a run right now into mid-May before a big pullback, so you can get some profit there. Take your profits, immediately buy as much silver bullion as you could. Maybe you'll get a 2-3x out of that. You'll have tangible cash versus everyone else's dollar, which will be totally trash by the end of the year.
Let me ask y'all something. Can I ask y'all
get yourself
something?
a machete and learn how to grow food. Yeah.
Because y'all, and it's in the same vein, but I just read something today that said that, I don't know, is it the Russian rupee or something like that? Ruble? Was being backed by gold, and it's been sending like some shockwaves in the financial markets. Like, what is, like, is that a thing? First of all, is it true? And, you know, on this whole vein of like money isn't real, like you need to look at what is money. Like, how does that impact that whole $5,000 investment for that young 23? You know, like, what's going on right now?
Sure. Let me give you some real quick information. So the way our dollar, after 1973, the way our dollar was backed up was we militarily kept an eye on Saudi Arabia. So we had basically the petrodollar, right? So everyone in the world had to buy oil or goods using the dollar. So we have dollars all over the planet. In fact, there's 4 times more dollars outside of the United States than there are inside the United States. So everybody in the whole world, and that's how we made money, was just hustling money from place to place. And we offshored our debt to all these places, right? Now everybody's tired of that. So, I mean, I can really make this a real easy, without going into depth on the whole thing. We tried to sanction Russia, right? Because of the Ukraine situation. We shorted their dollar or their ruble, which tanked it. They partially backed their ruble with gold, meaning they will exchange gold at a certain rate for a certain amount of rubles, which essentially put a floor on gold for them. Now, they've already made deals. You know, most people don't know this, but Russia and Saudi Arabia have already made deals to trade oil and gold and rubles, and now China has made deals with them. So they have this new triangle of trade: Russia, China, Saudi Arabia, pretty much the BRICS nations: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and all of them. Now you have 7 billion people against 1 billion people, right? The West, us, 1 billion people. And we have the most indebted nation ever on the planet. We don't produce anything. We're up a creek, guys, to be honest. And you've got to be very savvy about money right now, because the old system of cash is going to be replaced. And a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but the digital currency age is coming around. I'm not saying that's the way to go. I would suggest getting yourself some gold and silver, mostly silver, because it's the most undervalued asset that there is on the planet.
Silver's certainly undervalued because it
you
goes
can't
into
even
a
get
lot
it.
of things that we actually use. So it works as a currency as well as a commodity at the same time. It's in solar panels and computers, all this stuff. But beyond that, right? How does this influence your politics? Because a lot of this, you got the FedCoin coming. I mean, are you gonna be a part of the FedCoin?
No, absolutely not. That's going to trap you. I would not. In fact, I think that's going to die as soon as it gets rolled out.
Really? Why is that?
I'm not a fan of that. Because the world is going decentralized. Okay, the problem is centralized power, right? So central banking, these the Federal Reserve, all these central banks are the problem, right? They've created value out of nothing, and they lent it out with interest. So the entire thing from the very beginning is designed to fail. There's no way to pay any of it back. Right. They know that. That's why they've gone bananas. And if you create too much of something, there's no scarcity, so it has no value, right? So I would suggest silver because it's hard to get out of the ground. There's not a lot of it left. We use it in manufacturing all the time. Yeah. The future is technology, right? So there's going to be more cell phones, more computers.
The first people to get to an asteroid are going to be the ones who kind of run the show because they'll have the access to the minerals, the new minerals.
Hey, buddy, that's Tux. That's
we have
side
a
by
guest
side
on the show. His name is Tux.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I mean,
but here's the deal, Chris. Right? So we have that. How do you? I'm looking at it like this, right? What if they have this FedCoin that comes out and say it's pegged, 100 to 1 or something like that? Because at the same time, these central banks, they have a lot of power, and they're not going to relinquish their power in conjunction with the fact that most Americans really don't know how money works, to your point. They don't understand what it is. They just want to buy things, and they know that it buys things. So what makes you think that you're going to see completely decentralized finances and government opposed to the central bank just kind of co-opting what has already taken place?
It's just a trend that's playing out right now. I think it's some sort of natural emerging factor. Look at YouTube, totally replacing all the major media outlets. You think CNN likes the fact that we have a podcast going on right now? They've lost 90% of their viewers. I mean, nobody's watching those news channels anymore. I mean, okay, so that's a good thing. You can vote with your attention, right? Yeah. You can vote with your attention, and what's happening? People have started their own entertainment network, essentially. Look at this PewDiePie guy making millions, right? I mean, he's got his own following. Look at all these other channels. It's decentralized, right? That's a natural response to not enjoying what is coming out of the central messaging service, right?
Yeah.
And I think people have realized that their dollar isn't going as far. It's going to get tight. It's already tight for a lot of people. Yeah, I know that. And food is going to quadruple very soon.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to start to see hyperinflation come here right now in the next month going forward. I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see 10% inflation per month in the next 4 or 5 months.
That's nuts.
So
much for that pay raise you got.
Yeah, and people are going to walk off the job because the stress. A lot of people are at these jobs because they have to be. They've got kids. They've got responsibilities and debt. And they're there because that job pays for what they're responsible for. But at what point do they just say, this isn't worth it anymore? I'm not going to keep coming in when I can't get groceries on the table.
Marty, what you got to say to that, man?
Nah, bro. I'm just I don't even know how we slid into this hole right here, bro. I know it's you have the political dynamic, but we talking about world order is shifting. This is where we at with it right now, to Chris's point,
let's be real.
What are you saying?
The politics I'm apolitical. I think these guys are middle manager, kind of like, I don't think that they're just spokesmen, right? They're not there to actually make policy. If you want to know who the policymakers are, you go find the central banks. They dictate those policies to the big corporations, and the big corporations
Chris,
have the donors that go to
Chris,
the politics.
I have to let you know, Marty's a politician. Marty's a part of the DNC. So he didn't mention that in his his bio, but so he's a politician. So what do you have to say to that, Marty? Did you feel as a politician you had actual influence?
So check it out, right? So for me being in politics, like to his point, right? Like saying that politicians are puppets, right? I think you got to look at it in the sense of systems, and I don't know who controls the system, right? It's the same way as like we playing a board game, right? I can play that board game and understand the rules of the game, play it to the maximum, and have success and win in whatever form that looks like. But that isn't the person who created the game or who is overarching, dictating what the rules are, right? So for me, it's being a politician, being in the DNC, whatever that like United States political arena. I just know what the game. I know how to play the game at my level, right? But I do have those thoughts of like broader, like what's going on, who's controlling what. And I could see how what happens when you step out of line, from being inside, right? Like you could feel the pressure. You don't know where the pressure is coming from, but it's there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I bet the first thing they teach you is hustle and get money and donations. I mean, that's the first thing I hear about bigger politicians, like not local guys. I think local politicians are important, okay? When this decentralization trend is happening, I think it is going to become more regional. I think that we have a real chance. I mean, guys, I'm serious. We have a real chance to see the United States kind of dissolve into more regional areas being controlled by smaller politicians. So if you want to get in with your politicians, go find your local county guy. Get in tight with them. How are they thinking? What are they doing? Find your local sheriff.
I think that's what's their policy? That's a little extreme to me, Chris, because at the national level, if we're talking about the United States as a whole disintegrating into these small kind of pockets, I don't think we're there. And if we were there, that's like
Ooh,
yeah, I don't know.
Democrats saying we're closer than you think.
Are you guys familiar?
I'm going to say, have you ever seen how polarized everybody is?
I mean, get that.
We've got families going against each other.
I get
just
that, but
based
don't
on
you feel
ideology.
to a certain extent that that's somewhat the fringe is louder than the actual majority?
They control, bro. Look, they controlling it because we saw it with the Tea Party, right? Like as a Democrat, I'm looking at the Tea Party when it's first buzzing and bubbling. I'm like, ha!
Yeah, it's like 2007.
Y'all can't control them. Y'all can't control them. Y'all looking crazy. And you fast forward to where we are with my party. 2016, 2018, you got, the progressive, I don't even know what they call, like the progressive faction in our party that's doing what the Tea Party did, different ideologies, but same type of pushing our party in the direction that we may not be wanting to go. And one of the most interesting books that I'm reading now was Ray Dalio's New World Order. So when we talk about all these different, influence areas that are kind of dictating that we're moving to a new world order. That's why when Chris say we, things about to change, like I don't know that we'll be regional, countries or anything like that. But I mean, we headed towards a major revolution. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know what that's going to look like. A lot of stuff has been happening over the past, even 2 years now with the pandemic that has kind of like accelerated that beyond anything that I would have expected. So like things are changing.
It just seems like, it definitely seems like people are being triggered or pushed by these polarizing ideas that get set in motion when there really wasn't even that kind of a topic being in the natural community. And it seems like all of a sudden there's something being pushed out in the mainstream media, and now it's like, well, you got to take a side. How do you feel? Well, make your stand on this. And if you're not with us, well, then you're wrong, and we're going to dox you, or we're going to shut you down or cancel you somehow.
Yeah, but those moments rise and fall throughout history.
Thanks.
I mean,
Yeah,
McCarthyism.
If you've seen the Bolshevik revolution, Look at the Bolshevik Revolution, my friend. It's exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
We're at Germany, Weimar Republic right now. I mean,
that's extreme.
The money's cooked. The money is cooked.
That's a little hyperbolic.
Well, check in with me in August.
we'll have to get you back on.
If we're talking Weimar Republic, there's certain historical precedents that were set that created that crisis to happen, and then
mass unemployment,
the United States,
money that
the United
was
States' precedents historically are completely different. We didn't have a world war that created the Weimar Republic. The Revolutionary War created the United States, but it's completely different. It's a completely different situation than what was happening. So I don't know. I think it's a little bit extreme to say.
Yeah,
in the next 10 years we're going to be in regional republics or something.
Well, honestly,
probably about 2 years.
Its own standalone government, but
2 years. Wow. He said 2 years is going to
2
happen.
years?
Yeah, not even 10. So I don't know. It's hard to. It's really hard to say, right? However, I'm always looking into this stuff. I'm like, everything that they said was a conspiracy theory has pretty much come to fruition at this point. So, I've been influenced by books and different authors and stuff like that. But I like to look at the think tanks, because the think tanks really showcase, they really create policy. I mean, they influence policy. They create, influence legislation. So I'm looking at a lot of these new think tanks. And, I was reading something the other day. There's a new one out, the Free Private Cities. Are you guys familiar with this? Where they're basically pushing this whole concept, to Chris's point, which is about creating private cities where, basically you can contract, you just pay to be a. No, there would be it would be like an actual geographical place, right? Say it's an area in Texas or something like that.
It's kind of like Blade Runner.
And it's not like, it's not like one central government. Everyone is signing a contract to be a part of this. And then the government basically has accountability for the first time, because here in our world today, if you get robbed on your way home, there's really no recourse for that. You can't sue your government for the fact that you got robbed, right? But in these new free cities, that would be an example that you would be able to then get reparations from the city, because they didn't protect you in the way that they were supposed to.
Don't say that, bro. That's what that's gonna turn into. I know y'all seen Minority Report, right? You know what I'm saying? You already saw the little camera that I showed you. That's like, what is it? Million times zoom.
Oh, yeah. Man, that camera was crazy. But beyond that, but the thing is, there's also competition, right? So you don't have to stay in that free city. You go to another one at that point, and then essentially, if everyone leaves that city, it's going to become defunct.
How's that going to work? How's it going to work with governments owning, or having the ability from eminent domain perspective, like for the good of the populace? To take
because it's
back
not
land,
a government,
right? I don't like. It's not a government, but I don't like what y'all trying to do. We need that land to build a park. Y'all can't do that here. You know what I'm saying? Like at whatever level, because you're threatening their viability.
Right.
Like, why would I let that happen?
It'll be interesting to see. But I only brought that up to just counter what Rizzo was saying, which is.
Oh, it's not possible.
There's different ideas that are being presented at this time, so we can't be the only people thinking, Rome is burning, right? And
no. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with the fact that the Republic is in a state of crisis and that it's in collapse. Yeah. Because there's definitely historical markers that show that that's true. Yeah. I just think. It's so easy for people to just jump on the extreme based on the data that they take in and then kind of extrapolate that to a certain extent. I think it's impossible to extrapolate data out at a certain point because of chaos theory. Like you can't, once the computations get a certain,
unknowable.
It's unknowable and it just disintegrates. Yeah. So like for us to predict that this is going to happen with such certainty, I think is ridiculous. But also, I think there are other things at play on the global scale. So, for instance, I was going to ask Chris, because it sounds like you're a big fan of history as well, and Marty, maybe you have something to say about this. But have you ever heard of the concept of Thucydides' trap? So, it's this concept of emerging hegemons in kind of for the global world order, and how in ancient Rome, ancient Greece, the two were kind of ascendant at the same time, and at a certain point there is a like tipping point or a crossing point where one challenges the other, and that's kind of what we're going through with China, right? And there are certain things that you can look at even at that stage where, say, like birth rate. Is the birth rate in growth or decline? And that's a huge marker because that determines like the outcome of the population in decades time. Like how many people are you producing that will help continue this mission or this project. And so there's actually, in just taking that as like a data point, there's actually a lot of data on this. Russia and China, these kind of emerging hegemons that are trying to challenge the United States, their birth rates are in decline. So Chris already spoke about.
Have you seen us? Have you seen the United States?
The United States is actually positive.
No.
No, that's not true.
Where did you read that?
I think it's hovering around 1.25 to 1.5.
No, we're down.
Have you seen the marriage rates? That we're totally not.
Every report I've seen is down.
All right. Well, we can agree.
That
we have to look at it.
You can't.
But what do you have to say about that? And then also, you spoke in the beginning, Chris, about China's the debt crisis, right? So there's Evergrande, there's all this kind of stuff going on within the economy, and they're kind of experiencing their own 2008. So, those things considered.
This is way worse. In 2008, we were only short $86 billion. Remember that. Meanwhile, we're printing out trillions. Here's the problem. The whole globe, all of the nations have decided to hyperinflate. Mm-hmm. If you're watching this, that's what's happened. No one's ever done that on a global scale. There is nowhere to run to go hide your money in a better place. All the nations have gone insane and have just decided to print their way out of these problems. But that's not the solution. And now we have...
So what's your take on? If
you've seen the news, we have global food shortages happening. We have supply chain problems breaking down. We have major wrenches in the gears of society, and we've built this just-on-time delivery system for everybody, and it's fragile.
So Chris, let me ask you this:
too many things go wrong.
So with that in mind, all right, do you think that all of this kind of serves as and that's just our dog tucks. Do you think that all of this serves as a catalyst for a one world government?
I think the chaos created, whether it's on purpose or happenstance and well-timed, is created in order to produce an opportunity for somebody to provide a solution, whether that's the New World Order or just central banks being assholes and wanting to switch the money up. Either way, the currency is done. The fiat currency for this round is done, and they're going to provide us with a new version, which is going to be garbage. And if you don't build your own central bank yourself, meaning if you don't have tangible assets, if you don't own it, and if you don't hold it, you don't own it. I mean, forget owning a house and doing all these other things. Right now, it's what can you take and survive with versus, I mean, don't leverage up and go crazy right now is basically what I'm saying, because this is going to be, it's going to be tough for everybody. I mean, what happens when you can't afford groceries, guys? This is a real world question. Mm-hmm. The food is going to quadruple in price. Can you afford to quadruple your grocery bill?
No, that's why I'm practicing fasting right now. So I want to just kind of shift gears a little bit, right, and talk about politics, which we kind of alluded to in a little bit. But I think in postmodern history, I guess for me, I kind of trace all of this stuff back to first 1913, the Federal Reserve Act is when everything just kind of changed. Everything changed, and it all changed, and you'd have to go look into it yourself. I'm not really here to give my opinion on these things, but I think in postmodern history and recent history, I think to Marty's point, we saw a response to that with the Tea Party. I didn't necessarily think it was a negative thing. Some people did, whatever. That's your own opinion. And then fast forward, we get to Donald J. Trump. And everything, everybody just went cuckoo crazy. I mean, like, family members were fighting family members, and like, I lost friends, and it just got insane. So, did you guys support Donald Trump? Do you think he should make a comeback, for 2024? Like, what are your thoughts?
Look, man, Donald Trump kept me in politics. You feel me? Like, literally, I was ready to resign, My daughter's being born. He kept me in politics just so I could beat him, bro. And make sure you can't wear that little red
hat. So that to me, what's more what's more Nazi like than telling someone that they can't wear something?
Nah, so like, and it's a thing, right?
Seems pretty fascist to me.
I knew you was gonna bait me, bro. You got me. You got me. But it's like
he does that, man.
And it's like, even with me being a Democrat, right? And you look at it as the two-party system that we were in. When Chris said the first thing you do when you're trying to run on a large scale is raise money. So in the end of the day, the parties really truly don't matter. I mean, we differ, but the two parties, like a lot of, even in this region, Southern Illinois, we differ on issues. Like, it's like 2 or 3 issues, bro. Like, life is complex. People agree on 90% of everything, disagree on abortion, disagree on race. We won't confront the racism that's all around us. And then they'll just flip a party just based on those like issues, small issues. Not small issues, but it's more that brings us together that separates us. But what I saw with Donald Trump, and even with him and other radical politicians on my party as well, is that it's like upsetting the board game, bro. Like, you talk about, that's why people like him. They like him because he seems different. Like, the Republican Party can't check him, so they just fall in line. The Democrats don't know what to do with it because he's just like, I forgot what they call it. The thing that's like a zone of what's acceptable, and to the general public. And bro shifted that all the way to the side. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So people have been feeling that, but in terms of like control, in terms of helping people, it changes the way the game is being played in a way that we really can't predict. Like, it switches things up. So when it came to him, and like my biggest grievance, it ain't even about, because I got the tax break when he put his little tax cuts through. I'm like, oh, that's what's up, bro. Bro brought me down a few points. Save me a little bit of money. But it's not even about that. It's more for me when you talk about where we are today as far as like what's being pushed out in the media, the polarization of the two parties. I ain't trying to go to no revolution. You feel me? Like, I'm not trying to load up, you know what I'm saying, and go out in the street and have to handle that. Like, that's what I'm trying to avoid. And I think what he represented was like the ugliest parts of our country in terms of racism, like dog whistle politics, where he's speaking to certain groups to embolden them to take action in a way that, whereas previously they might be doing that in their backyard or on a private chat area, now they just doing it in the streets. I think I was at like a biker gathering, and like people were literally walking around with Nazi patches on, bro. Like, that's just normal. And they represent and identify with that party typically. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's hard for me. We talk about, the other aspects of his policy and just forget that part of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, totally understand that. I mean, for me, it's not like, if I'm a musician and I make songs, I'm not responsible for, if a fan listens to my song and wants to go kill someone because of that song.
That's an artist,
I'm just responsible for...
Politics is theatrics, but we ain't artists, man. We public servants.
I mean, Donald Trump ain't a politician. That's what made him so special. But so, Chris, what was your take on Donald Trump, and should he come back?
Well, I know CNN loved him. I know MSNBC
they made a ton of money. Their ratings were down,
so
right?
much money off of saying his name every day, and I tell you, I couldn't tell if they were promoting him behind the scenes or what. The amount of airtime that guy got free. Off of CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS. That's all my mom was watching all day. And
is he getting a MAGA hat?
Nah, bro. So you asked if he should run again. Don't make me put this back on, bro. Don't make me put this back on, bro. We with it. Let's do it.
I think what a lot of people, obviously, I can't tell if he was a wild card and really disrupted everything and just brought everything to light that everybody was sort of on the edge with, or if he was really put in there or whatever to drum up. I mean, look at the debt. Okay, I'm going to take it back to money. He didn't stop taking on, we didn't go to war the whole time, but he doubled the debt from the last president, and then it just marched on. So in my opinion, politics are there so that the agenda can march forward, and if the public doesn't like it after a while, they peel them off and put a new guy in, and the agenda rolls forward. And there's a lot of good people that get into politics initially because they want to help their community. They've got good ideas. They're motivated. They've got people backing them. But you move up, you get up high enough, you got to toe the party line, and the party line is the agenda, and the agenda is set by the central banks. And the central bank's entire agenda is to keep pumping debt.
Have you ever seen...
So what end, though? Like, what's the point of it? Because, even with everything we dealing with, like, why would you want a revolution? Like, I want to make my money and things to be, relatively peaceful, or at least for me to be able to control it. So, like, if that's the aim, if they're controlling both sides of it, what is the end goal?
To return everyone back to serfhood. They want to be the lenders of last resort for everything. And if you just watch what they're doing, you'll see it. I mean, guys, we got to get rid of these central banks. That's the problem.
Well, and ours was
if you want politics to be legit again, if you want real representation, you got to get rid of these big donors. You got to get rid of the big lobbyists, and it's all funneled through central banks. And they run the think tanks. They run the little foundations. They run all this organization and push the money to the right people. I remember there was a bunch of really cool, like, organic groups that kind of came up in the mid-90s, 2000s that got totally co-opted. Their message got taken, and new funding came in and derailed the entire thing. I mean, I'm sure people who are into the Black Lives Matter group weren't real happy to hear that the lady just bought a $6 million mansion from a friend that recently bought it the day before for $3 million, and there was a rip-off of $3 million for somebody. I mean, you follow the money on a lot of this stuff, and don't get me wrong, I think there's a lot of great people who are trying to do a lot of good things locally for their local communities, and I'm all about that. My mom was a social worker. She's heavily involved in community and building people up and just volunteering tons of time to get all these little things going. But if you move up high enough, you're running directly into central planners. And these people have an agenda, and it's not to benefit the people. I don't know if has life gotten easier for you? Does anybody?
I mean, in certain regards, absolutely. But I think this stuff goes way back. Like I said, I always point it back into modern history. In 1913, the Federal Reserve Act being passed, and then you have people like Ludvig von Mises writing about this in the 1920s. You have F.A. Hayek writing about this, Joseph Schumpeter. This isn't a new thing. This is a war of attrition, where there's a group of people that have been, working toward this bit by bit, putting up a brick for what, they'll, if you go against the narrative, they're going to say you're a conspiracy theorist. But if you look at the history, not what, mainstream media is saying, because, at this point they own mainstream media. But if you look at what some of the outsiders are saying, pretty much everything that they've said has come to fruition. So the only thing that's left, from what I can see, is just a one world government. And at that point, to Chris's point, saying, people are looking for different places to deploy their money geographically. And when you juxtapose that with, say a dictator, I'm a citizen in a country with a despotic government. Those people want to leave, right? And ideally, they always want to come to America. America's the beacon of hope. It's the last light. When America is dismantled, there will be no other place on the earth where you can escape to or escape from. So it's really important that we hold this fabric. We're a very young country, only 235 years old, right? Very young. So I'm a little concerned about it. I don't know, man. I'm always concerned and keeping my eyes open. What you got, Chris?
So prior to the 1913 central bank implementation, we had sound money in this country, and inflation never went above 1%. In fact, it was actually deflating. Things were getting better, and it was getting cheaper for better products. It was only after central banks were implemented that inflation started becoming a problem. Now, once we took our exchangeable gold rate back off from 1973 with the Nixon policy change, we essentially started a new monetary policy then, but the central banks went full-blown, nothing backing it. I mean, people say like the petrodollar, but in reality, if you look at the charts, and I usually post this, sometimes I post it on Facebook or whatever, you will see the money creation just exploded from that point forward. And you don't even understand. People talk about, oh, we're $30 trillion in debt. Guys, no. You're easily $400 trillion in debt and quadrillions of dollars in unbacked derivatives, which are floating based on the interest rate. And if that interest rate goes up, which is the only way to combat the inflation, you will totally tank the entire financial system. So they have to create more. They can never stop. The minute that they stop, the whole thing implodes on itself.
So, Chris, I'm always hearing people say we owe debt, right? We owe this, we owe that, and there's a lot of fascinating things out there as far as even like unbacked 401ks and pension funds. That's going to blow up. That's going to be a terrible thing when that happens, and people realize that the money that they think is in their pension is actually not there. But that's another story, right? Who do we owe?
Most of these are private banking families, and these are. They kind of hide themselves, obviously, in shell entities. They're not known. They're not going to be on your Forbes 500 list. They're not going to be out in the public. They don't want anyone looking for them.
So you're telling me that the central bank, the European Central Bank, the Federal Reserve Bank, all these different central banks around the world are privately owned? They're not a part of the government?
That's correct.
Wow.
So you're basically looking at, if you want to know who it really is, it's the Khazarian Mafia. And
the who?
I can go into the Khazarian Mafia.
Who's that? Take us down this rabbit hole, man. And Marty, chime in if you got anything, man.
Bro, I ain't got nothing for y'all. I'm just trying to, you feel me? Y'all tell me what y'all thinking. I ain't never heard of this. What's going on?
Okay.
Well, I definitely encourage anyone to look it up. The Khazarian Mafia is basically, ironically, originally from an area around Ukraine. And if you look into Ukraine right now, you will see that that's a hotbed of money laundering, sex trafficking, drug dealing. It's the elite's little money bank, right? And now it's getting blown to shit.
Do you think that's a coincidence, or is that intentional?
Oh, no. I fully believe that there's hidden wars going on that we don't know about amongst sort of higher end elite people for control of this money stream. You got one of the number one money making schemes of big banks, and I'm talking Wells Fargo, HSBC, Goldman Sachs, is drug trafficking and human trafficking profits. They launder all that money.
And that's in the black market. It's
where do you think it all goes?
Right. Yeah, where does it go?
A lot of that stuff is it's being hustled through those banks.
So
HSBC, that they are the number. How HSBC was converted from the British East India Trading Company. Their number one product was heroin distribution and taking over China by putting everybody on heroin, and that was because all the British silver was getting pumped over to China with the tea trade, and they couldn't deal with the loss of that metal, and they got everybody up on opium over there, and it became a real big problem. And they realized how much money you can make hustling dope around. And so if you want to know what's going on, these people up in the upper echelons, they're drug dealers in suits with a lot of legal teams and paperwork. That's all it is.
So, like, what would be the point? You feel me? Like, because, you got to look at motive, right? Like, y'all on here, you saying, like, screw central banks,
control.
blah, blah, all this. Then you, in the same vein, you also speak to like getting into cryptocurrency and things like that. Like anything that would like take us away from to take us away from the type of structure that we have today and move us to like a cashless society. Wouldn't that only exacerbate us being under control of some type of new order? You know, I mean, what does that look like? I don't know. And this is like, you know, I try to study, like you say, you study the past to predict what's going to happen in the future and stuff like that. But this is like wild times, bro. Like, you think about growing up, but we had these type of concerns in the 90s running around, playing outside. No. You know what I'm saying? So, like, what's really going on?
No, I think at some point the music's going to stop. The curtain's going to get pulled back. Everyone's going to look around when the lights come on, and it's going to be a bunch of brick walls. And we're going to be in a really trapped situation here.
But to Marty's question, though, like, you know, he raised a good point. Does that, you know, this new world order, does this just, you know, help them more and create more bondage for the average citizen, or is this the revolution?
Well, I think if you look at the Chinese social...
That's all strapped up.
So I think if you look at the social credit score system that's been implemented in China, that was being helped by a lot of our big tech companies, you will see an attempt by these guys to put you on... There will probably be a bank holiday at some point, right? And the money in your bank will probably be locked. You'll be locked out of it for a minute. They'll come on and they'll say, oh, we've got this new digital system. Don't worry. Your money is going to be good. We've got this new digital FedCoin, whatever. But then just like if you work for some high roller job, guess what? They're screening through your social media. They're looking at your posts. If they don't like your posts, you know, maybe you don't get bread that week or something. I mean, anytime you take away the control of how you spend money, you're done. It's over. I mean, I don't like the idea that this is a digital system coming forward. I'm a proponent. I love cash. I still love cash because I can spend it however I want, where I want. Nobody's going to know what I'm doing with it. They don't like, the people up at the top don't like that. They want to account for every single movement. They want to know, where is that going? How can we tax it?
Which
so that's the other part too,
is
though.
Possible.
It's like, you know,
it's to squeeze you. It's to squeeze you. It's not to make. They don't need money. They make money out of nothing, so they don't need the money. You got to remember,
like, what's the
taxes,
point of
all that.
You know what I'm saying, Chris? Like, what's the point?
It's to control you.
Because it's like people are, you know, and maybe
you said to control you.
I'm not at the highest levels, or I don't have those conversations. But I found that most people, in terms of leadership, whether that's in business or in politics, are idiots. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think you giving this shadow group more credit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have a lot of faith in people to be that 1%. Smart to control that many people.
Yeah,
you know, in that way.
The top 1%, the top 1% are usually, of all these super big corporations, are typically psychopaths. That's what they have as a personality. They're groomed for that, right? They employ sociopaths to get it done, because they don't have empathy. So they don't care about... You're not looking at it from their point of view. We can't look at it from their point of view because we don't have that mentality. But psychopaths have a very unique viewpoint, and in order to sort of adjust your mind thinking to how that might be, you got to look into psychology a lot more. You got to understand what's motivating someone to do what they're doing, right? If it's not the money, because they make all the money.
I think even beyond
it's
that,
because they don't like us, and they, you know.
Have you looked at? Are you guys familiar with Vortex mathematics?
No.
Okay, it's quite fascinating. Look it up. Anybody listening? Okay, Vortex mathematics. So this was something that Nikola Tesla was very, very much interested in. And so if you and this goes way back to like ancient civilizations, ancient Egypt or Kemet or whatever you want to call it, right? Basically, it kind of explains the pyramid, right, and what it means of having a top-down hierarchy. We saw this come into play during this global pandemic, right, where everyone just had to follow suit, right? If you go to work tomorrow or Monday or whatever, and your boss says, hey, this is the new rule, this is how we're doing it, you're going to do it, right? And and even if your boss doesn't agree with it, and you're like, man, this is stupid. He's like, yeah, I know, but it's coming down from corporate, whatever. And then corporate, and you keep going up the chain. It's just chain of command. That's how the military works, right? So everyone's just going off who's at the top, but no one knows who's at the top and who's pulling the strings. And you can understand this mathematically through what we call in modern society vortex mathematics. So we saw this come into play, and as you keep going up the chain, you realize that the World Health Organization was basically responsible for everything that happened in your local hospital. And they were able to stick their teeth into every hospital in 200 countries throughout the world. So these people have a lot of power. To your point, I do find that a lot of people are idiots in these, middle management roles, right? And not necessarily idiots, just ignorant and just oblivious to how things actually work, because most people don't have the time. And we talked about this on an episode before, where you don't have the time to delve into these things, like someone like Chris, right?
It's on purpose. That's a distraction. Your sports, your overwhelming responsibilities, your taxation, the things that occupy your entire day, your smartphone filled with all the apps, it's a distraction on purpose. I mean, that's the whole point. Like, they don't want you looking at any of this stuff because you've got to get busy and get going back to doing your duties. They don't...
Being a slave.
Why do you think they don't teach you about money in school? I mean... It's
Speaking about that, did you see, Marty, maybe you have something to say about this, but I saw that DeSantis is going to pass or sign some bill or something where they're going to teach financial literacy in all of the high schools or something in Florida. What do you think about that?
I rock with it. I mean, so often we always hear that's usually the number one thing. Anytime you make a group post, hey, what's something y'all wish y'all would have been taught in school? That's usually top of the list. But then part of it is that on the responsibility as me as a parent to teach my daughter, or me to spread that throughout my community, or is that the responsibility of government? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I think it's solid. Like, if I was an elected official, I would definitely try to champion some legislation like that. But I think it's hard to do because you have all of the public schools, like the public school system, is their own entities to direct what curriculum is. I don't know how somebody as a governor could. I mean, I guess you could mandate it from a state. I don't know. I mean, I like it.
Yeah, so I kind of want to just shift back to the social credit thing that Chris was talking about, right? So, I mean, there's all these conspiracies out there. I love them. I absolutely love them.
We're aware.
Yeah, I've loved them for a very, very long time. And, Rizzo is one of my best friends of all time because, we can have these conversations and, he's never once been like, get out of my house, we're not friends anymore. He probably thinks it, but he's never done that.
Nah, never.
I say some wild stuff. So, kind of like looking at this, the jab, right? And everybody's been talking about it for some time now.
We're going to have to, you're going to force us to put a disclaimer up.
I know.
Yeah, y'all definitely going to need some disclaimers, bro.
Oh, the jab, dude. Listen, man. We're here,
This is
bro.
our COVID disclaimer.
You said the word. I didn't say the word. I just said the jab, bro. We were talking about boxing. We like Ryan Garcia and all of that, right? So the jab, right? Now, if we kind of follow the trajectory of the outset of this, pandemic or whatever, and there were people, coming out saying, hey, man, if we allow this to happen, this will be the consequence. They're going to have more power. And I don't know if you know this, but once you relinquish power to the government, you don't get it back. You only get that back in blood, right? So there are people saying that, like, hey, this is what's going to happen. They're going to force us to, get this jab. And everyone's like, no, man, you just want to flatten the curve and all of that jazz, right? Now, here we are. I want to travel outside of the country. I love to go. They won't let me. Gotta get jabbed up. So I haven't been anywhere. It's okay. And now they're saying, and they've been saying this for some time, where this is basically the window to this social credit system in America. What do you think of that?
Let me kick you some on that, just to throw it out there.
Let's get it.
So, and the jab, just so I'm clear, because you know I have my drink off to the side. So the jab referring to the vaccine? Is that what you're referring to?
No, let's say that.
Okay. So I am a believer
Marty.
in science. I've worked in healthcare for the past decade. I believe in vaccinations. I believe in the science that underlies it, right?
Yep.
To the point that we made earlier, right? You look at the media, right? Like you say, you don't watch the media. You try to move in your own space. Yeah. But the number one thing where I saw where it's like people are super against it or super for it, mask, anti-masker, it's all coming off of what they saw out of their box, they watching, or their cell phone. If the Republican Party was echoing the same sentiments that the Democratic Party was and saying that, you know, we need this just to help us get through this a little bit quicker, blah, 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 you know, this, like, you know, science matters. For the most part, people used to believe scientists. You know what I'm saying?
Well, can I just push back for a second? Because this whole thing was created under Operation Warp Speed, which was under the 45th president. And then we had the current vice president come out and say, well, if it came from him, there's no way I would ever take that. And this is the same exact science that is being deployed now. So how do you respond to that?
Like, what do you mean? I'm not familiar. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so Operation Warp Speed, which was a program under the 45th president of the United States, right? And he brought a team together, you know, all these big pharma people.
Oh,
and
yeah, I remember. I know what you're referring to.
They created the vaccination.
Time, like, if it came from him, like, I'm not for it. So
then they pushed this exact same one onto us.
No.
It's not a new product.
My rebut to that would just be, and I think this kind of takes me away from my point that I was making, but I think the rebut to that is just an overarching, that individual, and I don't know, I don't have any data to back it up at this point, but I'm sure you can find it. As far as like elected officials or public servants who have told the most amount of lies, blatant lies, it's probably second to none. So in that sense of, why would I believe anything that he said because he has a history of lying to the public? You know, I wouldn't be for that. So I think it would be more in those veins. But my point is, what you saying, like this vaccine being some type of predetermination of, you know, social credit system, and you'll have to do this. It's a way to control you. They already control people by pumping through, you know, the echo boards or the echo chambers that they're in, that you should be against this, you know, this is a way to control it. And I would say it's more just about polarization rather than this vaccine as being a thing, because clearly we can see through the science. Millions of people have died, bro. Like, can't fake that. I mean, I know your rebuttal will be like, well, the CDC and Dr. Fauci, I know y'all, you know, like people like to go that route and like, well, they faking these fake deaths, blah, blah, blah.
Well, the CDC has already come out and said that they those numbers were juiced, and they're already taking back a lot of those numbers from the beginning time. So that's the CDC.
Know,
I mean, I didn't make this up.
You have to show me, like, because I could say, you know, in the same vein of like, they came out to say that, you know, the formula was off a little bit, but this is where we are. And people will say, they said they were lying about all the numbers, this is inflated, you know. So it's like, you know, I would just want to see, you know, what that looks like. But my whole point in the beginning is just...
Well, hold on. Let's see what... I think Chris has something to say to that.
So obviously we've slipped right into a divisive topic, which is exactly what...
Exactly not what we want on the side-by-side.
This is exactly... He's saying
but that's what I'm saying, though. It's like,
and you can see how emotional everybody gets about their personal opinion on this. I left Chicago because I didn't want to be in a big city, because I watched Europe closing down. I watched all this closing. I saw New York City close down, LA. I said, forget this. I'm heading to the mountains. I went to Colorado, chilled up in the mountains just to kind of see which way the wind was going to blow. You know, nobody knew what was going on. But this is America. And you have a personal decision of how to control what's going into your body. And my argument to everybody was, look, if you want to take it, that's fine. It should protect you from anyone who hasn't taken it. And if you get butthurt about that, well, then you don't believe in the actual efficacy, the effectiveness of this vaccine or whatever. And here we are, round 4 plus boosters. People are look at Nancy Pelosi, just got sick. Hillary Clinton, she's got sick. Pulaski, whatever her name is, everybody's already getting it. And then they give the argument, well, it wouldn't have been so bad. You can go find a video of Fauci talking about how natural immunity is the actual best route to take if you're going to get sick. Sure, if somebody's got somebody's got comorbidities and they're old, because most of the death rate was 80s and up, yeah, upper respiratory sicknesses are going to kill you. Any flu can kill you if you're old like that. But if you're young, just get it over with, and let's get back to work. This is a joke. I've been traveling. I came down to Florida, and my family freaked out. They said, "This is a hot spot. Look at the map. It's totally red. You're gonna die." I've been on the beach. I'm looking at yachts all day. What are you guys doing? Nobody's wearing masks. It's a great place. Like, business is open. We're making money. I still see people up north wearing masks at the fucking pool. Like, what are you doing? Like, just get it over with. If you got a problem, stay away, take your shot. That's your choice. If not, hey, get your let's talk about getting your immune system up and rocking instead of being totally stuck on medicine get you through with pills and shots. Forget that.
So I rock with what y'all saying, right? Like, I get all that. I think that once it becomes a public health situation, right? Like, in the general sense, I agree, right? People should be able to determine like what goes into their body. But if it's in the sense of we have like a virus, bacteria, whatever, that's like if I in the case of COVID, whereas if I get it, I might have mild symptoms, but the rate at which I spread it is dramatic, and it can cause other people to be older or whatever.
Yeah, but that would be people who haven't gotten the shot in theory, right? If you got the shot, you're protected from it. That's the point.
I get that. But when
why does everyone need to get it? That's a choice.
And I guess this the other side, right, is a rebuttal for you all, right? Under that type of mentality, like, do what you're going to do. You want to get it, go ahead and get it. But when we have, like, at the height of it, during all the peaks in 2020, whereas people had that mentality, and I have people in the healthcare system, nurses, doctors, who are stressed to freak out. Like, ICUs overflowing. People aren't able to get into the hospital. Like, if you went in to a hospital during those times, you would see it face to face. Like, oh shit, this is a real problem. You know what I'm saying? With the same mentality of like,
What you got, Chris?
So, let's be real honest about medicine, okay? Hospitals are designed to run at 97% occupancy to be profitable. These things are designed to not have available beds to begin with. Now, of course, if you get a bunch of nervous Nancys running in there because they got a runny nose, you're going to overwhelm the whole thing. Of course. We all chilled out. I told you, I went to Colorado. I chilled out. But I didn't go spreading anything around. But if you're going to...
No. Like, I feel you, bro.
Like you're weak, you got to get your shot. That's your choice. People are getting fired. People are getting fired.
Losing their lives.
It's public health. And I don't know, and this is like me speaking in the sense of like, when you're accountable to another individual, because I think for the most part, when you have people in a higher socioeconomic class, or if you follow a political ideology that is like more libertarian, where it's just like, I don't care what you do so long as you don't affect the next person. Like, your mentality is going to be one of like, people can do whatever they want, and you're not really accountable to anybody except for myself. Like, I'm gonna focus on me. I'm gonna do what I got. But when you're an elected official, you can't operate or run a government with that type of mentality. Otherwise, things can get bad. And you're held responsible for those lives.
So let me ask you this, Marty: How do you define public health issue?
Public health issue. Any type of issue that affects a general public, whether that's my city or my school, right? My region, my country, the world, like anything that obviously it's like scales to it. Like, how do you define a pandemic? How do you define an epidemic?
Awesome. So then secondly, what is the purpose of a vaccination?
The purpose of a vaccination is to prepare your body to have a response to whatever the actual virus is, so that way you have the antibodies to actually like to battle it if you actually do get that infection.
Absolutely. So if I get a vaccination from polio or something like that, and I get exposed to it, in theory, that vaccination is going to protect me from polio, right?
I can't really speak to polio specifically, but that's the idea of a vaccination.
Okay, awesome. What do you got, Chris?
Okay, so I didn't once hear anyone advocate for getting vitamins up, getting out, taking a walk.
Hey, I'm
in
all
the
But they
sunshine,
did, though.
doing it.
Not being morbidly
They know, like, they
obese.
literally
Our
did
whole
that.
country.
Like, that was
I saw
literally
people
the-
saying we're
No,
going
they
to
didn't.
give you free hot dogs if you get a shot. That's what I saw. I saw get a
Here's
get
another
a dozen
thing.
donuts if you get the shot. I was like, what
beat
is
it,
going
bro.
on
I
here?
don't know what city you in, bro. You in Texas, bro. Things a little different in Texas. You know
Oh,
what
in
I'm
Texas,
saying?
no one, they don't care if you have it
You
here.
don't
But I'm
care?
just saying that
That's
I saw the 46th
What?
president of the United
What he
States
was
go
passing.
on TV
What's up, bro?
and say, "Go there, get you a free beer. Go there, get you a donut. Go there, get you this. If you get a
Krispy
jab."
Kreme. Krispy Kreme.
Krispy
Yeah,
Kreme. They had the.
Krispy Kreme.
That's right. And I love Krispy Kreme.
No, but
I want to hear that.
I'm gonna have to chime in on the vaccine, because the entire purpose of a vaccine is to mimic antibodies that you would naturally acquire from getting one. Someone who's sick, you'd naturally have that, so you definitely have a lifetime immunity after this process, and you'd be a lot more prepped if there is a variant.
But see, and you know what, Chris? I can rock with the mentality. Like, I get what you're saying, bro. But the point, in that same scenario of, like, not having a vaccine is, like, the response. Like, maybe your body isn't able to react fast enough and you die. Like,
But
you
then
know what I'm
that's
saying?
not
Maybe
science.
you're cool with that scenario. Like, yeah, a few, percentages, like 1%
But that's
of
what
the
I'm saying. If
population
you-
is gonna
if-
die. Maybe you can live with that.
If they felt that there was a certain percentage of the population that needed to be isolated, like the elderly, that's something. But why take all these working people and children for? Let's talk about the children who.
No, it was crazy.
God, what they did with the kids. I thought that for me. I was like, I just turned off the TV, turned off all that shit, and just was like, you guys are out of your mind. I'm gonna get in the sun. I'm gonna go hiking. I'm gonna take my vitamins. I'm lifting weights. I got in shape.
Oh,
Look at him.
You know?
Flexing
He
on
didn't-
him.
Hey,
well, you guys
flexing
can't see
on
this,
him.
who the people that
Speaking
are
of-
listening, but he's got some guns right there. He just showed us his guns.
speaking of getting in shape, to kind of get us off of this
Let's go.
politics train for a bit. Just wanted to get your perspectives on health and fitness. So you guys have like a regimen that you use daily? Do you have a practice that you go for? Like for me, big thing that's helped me get through like a lot of this time and just in general in life. I've been doing yoga for a long time. I love it. Love meditation, that kind of stuff. So yeah, curious to hear some of your guys' own practices, what you do to keep your mind right, keep your body right.
I'll let Chris
start.
go first.
Well,
He
I'm
got
all
the
about,
guns. And for the listeners, he's sitting on camera shirtless right now. So y'all should have tuned in. Y'all missing out. So I'll let him go. Then I'll give y'all my regimen.
I'm a big proponent of manifestation as far as like getting yourself in the right vibe and the right energy. So for me, like I mentioned earlier, I love real estate. So I go and I walk all these beautiful neighborhoods. I check out these beautiful homes. I surround myself with nature. I go to a place where I'm feeling a good vibe. I make sure I do a couple mile walk every day, no matter what. I'm in the sunshine. I definitely make sure that's a priority for me. Push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, just get moving. It doesn't have to be hours either. I do like maybe 10, 15 minutes of just nothing a day. But the walking is important. I think the walking is critical.
How's your diet?
When I was in the city in Chicago, I was at the desk all the time. I got a little gut. I got a little chub because I was eating all that rich food and blowing all the commission checks. And, but now hiking, being in the mountains was a really big deal for me. I love doing that. I love getting out playing Frisbee, getting active, just having fun. And honestly, if you're having fun, you are going to create opportunities for yourself because you're going to get inspiration.
Yeah.
And that's part of the manifestation part that I really am a big proponent of is getting in that good vibe, surrounding yourself with good people, having great conversations, being active. You don't want to, you don't want to just get into bad health just because you're sitting around all the time.
Yeah.
And that's a shame to see people who get stuck at a desk and can't, and that's promoted in our country. Look what happened. I mean, 70% of our country is overweight.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
So Chris, what's your diet like then? I've seen you pretty lean.
I love steaks. I get up in the morning. I got eggs, bacon. I crush a good meal for lunch. Got decent, like a granola bar, yogurt, some mixed nuts during the day, a little salad, some steaks. I eat a lot of seafood. Obviously, I'm down in Florida, so it's lobster, salmon, steaks, shit like that. But I don't back off.
So you don't have like a particular diet or anything you stick to? You kind of just try to eat healthy as possible and get all the things that you like?
My buddy, if you check your blood type, there's a really good way to like look at what kind of food your body works with. I'm not great with heavy grains or anything. I'm more of a carnivore-based blood type, O positive, so I crush meat. I love that. I'm a steak guy. Bacon. God, I love bacon. Jesus.
Right on, Marty. What about you, man?
But,
what
you got to be active.
Stuff you get into?
Yeah. So for me, bro, I'm I look at it in terms of like time and energy, right? Like wherever my focus is. So when it comes to health, I'm the type of person like I probably lost and gained more weight than all of my friends put together. You know what I'm saying? Like Dimari saying, when I was as a boxer, I fought in the welterweight class for USA Box Amateur, so that's 141 pounds. And I came down from 200 pounds. So, like, for me, like, weight loss is simple. It's like diet and exercise. Like, you cut back on sweets, you cut back on carbs, work out, you'll lose weight. It's really, truly, like, a formula that is that simple. So, for me, it's like I just maintain, where I am. Like, I know with the pandemic, I gained a little bit of weight. But I've been walking it down. And, I don't eat bad, like, a lot of, fast food, but I do sweets. So I'll have oatmeal in the morning, oatmeal fruits. I usually do like maybe 2 meals a day, so I have like salmon and stuff like that. But then sometimes I have, chicken. What do you say is chicken strip pizza? I don't even y'all even heard that.
No, I gotta say something.
We do have emos.
So me and Marty, we talk like every day. Like I said, this dude just like sends me stuff that I've never seen. He was like, I guess it was like your birthday the other day. You had like a strawberry shortcake ice cream. I was like, what? He's just like eating it like, bro, y'all don't know about this, bro. I'm like, yo, dude, you need to get your fat butt in the gym right now, dog. I told him straight up.
He was on it, but I'm gonna take that. But it's like, and I get it. Like, you live the lifestyle, and I can appreciate it. Life is about balance, bro. And I know one thing that I do know when I was 141 is like the amount of commitment that it takes to maintain such a low body fat percentage is like insane. Like, I don't want to be in the gym. I don't want to be like, I enjoy food. You feel me? Like, I know you like get your fat butt in the gym, but go ahead, try you a spoonful, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, I don't have the willpower. I know if I start, dude, I
ain't
can't
gonna be able
stop.
to stop.
So like, nah, I know myself, man. So I don't even buy it.
Well, gents, to tie it all together, since we ended up on here, were you talking a little bit about the boxing and stuff, and we were talking about a little about the fighting in the beginning, both of us, all of us kind of like into the fights and stuff. We had some. I feel like we had some healthy, competitive fighting going on here, and the debating and stuff. And what I really loved about our conversation, at least from my perspective, I was doing a lot of listening here because I feel like I learned a lot of stuff from both of you guys, especially, and your perspectives on life and everything, and just all the topics we covered, and definitely appreciated the candor and the way in which you guys converse. Like, you guys don't even know each other, and I mean, that's really the mission of our podcast, is to really like bring complete strangers together like this and create a space where people feel safe to have a conversation like this. And even if it gets a little uncomfortable, we find a way to navigate it and talk through perspectives and hear everybody out. And I love that you guys participated in that manner. That was really awesome. And just want to get your thoughts on it, Dimari.
Yeah, no, I knew that these two, I know them separately. And I just, I'm fascinated with both of them for different reasons. And I just thought it would be a great matchup. So, thanks for coming on the Side by Side podcast. And, we'll just give you a couple seconds to, tell people where they can find you, what you're up to right now. We'll start with you, Marty.
Yeah. So first and foremost, thanks so much for having me on the podcast. Like I can't wait just to see future episodes and all. Like it's been a blast. And anybody that want to reach out to me, you can find me on LinkedIn. You know, just Google search my name, Marty Murray Jr. Maybe I ain't that famous, so you might have to type in St. Louis. But I mean, you'll find me. LinkedIn
Awesome,
will probably
man.
be
How
the
about
best
you,
place, or
Chris?
Facebook or IG.
Okay. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, this has been awesome. This is a first experience for me. I'm very reclusive normally. I prefer to stay anonymous. I travel around a lot, so you won't pin me down anywhere. Right now, I'm in South Florida because I'm not able to go travel internationally. So basically, I just recreated the French Riviera as best I could, which is down in Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach area. My last message would be know your enemy, and that's the central banks. And a universal topic for everybody is money, and it affects everybody. Doesn't matter what class you're in, doesn't matter what race you are. And the manipulation of that is what is really dividing everybody. And it's an easy topic to bring up to anyone. And yeah, I'm not going to put any information about where you can find me because
He said,
He
"Catch
may
me when you
actually
see me when you see me."
Yeah, he may actually be your landlord, and you have no idea.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, love it, man. Well, thanks for coming on. And until
Wait.
Oh, what you got?
You can find me at Rizzo Fields on Instagram.
And you can find me at Judah Clan.
And you can find us on at Elusis Media Group, which is ELEUSIS Media GRP on Instagram. We'll be posting episodes on there. You can get all the latest updates and stuff.
Yeah. Subscribe, man.
Yeah,
Follow us.
check
and
us
subscribe.
out.
Comment.
As always, side by side.
Until next week, man.
All right. See y'all.